Welcome back. Let's continue our conversation with the president and CEO of FreedomWorks, Matt Kibbe. Matt, we broached the subject before the break, and that, of course, is inevitable. 2014 is followed by 2016, and it's interesting to reflect on who may seek the presidency. Rand Paul is identified as someone who captures that libertarian Republican fusion. If you take a look at Rand Paul as a potential presidential candidate, what are his strengths and what are his weaknesses?
Well, I think he does speak to younger people, and he certainly speaks to what is now being called the fourth leg of the Republican coalition table, and that's this young liberty movement, perhaps associated originally with Ron Paul, but I think you're seeing the Tea Party morph into something broader that would better be called the liberty movement. And I think, regardless of his success in the long run, I think he does have something to teach Republicans in terms of messaging, in terms of an affable style that's more Reagan-esque than confrontational. But he's talking about big ideas, and I think the next president of the United States, if it is a Republican, it's going to be someone that's talking a little bit outside the box and is not playing this de minimis, well, we're going to stop Obama, but we're not sure what we're for. Rand Paul is one of those guys, and I think that's pretty compelling.
Well, just one other note on Senator Paul. While he's been certainly inclusive and struck an affable tone, it seems that he has been back and forth, figuratively speaking, on the border. What steps should be taken? Do you think he has spoken with clarity on that issue?
Well, candidly, I don't think any Republicans have spoken with enough clarity on both border security and what immigration reform actually means. We've been reactive every step of the way. We've been negotiating about whether or not you're for a bill that was written by Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin. I think we owe it to the conservative movement and good public policy to define what it means to fix immigration, because it's not enough to just say that I'm against the president's amnesty plan. I think we have to do that. So Rand Paul is struggling, but I would argue that we all are. And I hope that someone, and maybe it's a Mike Lee at the Senate Steering Committee, let's lay out our principles, because we're not anti-immigrant. We're anti-breaking the rule of law. We're anti-porous border. We're anti-chaos. And that's something that I think you can galvanize a broad spectrum of voters, including the Hispanic community.
Of course, it's been said that politics in and of itself is controlled chaos, and maybe not controlled. Mindful of that, there is certainly no shortage of people with talent and ambition who are looking at the presidential race. Names come up like Jeb Bush and Chris Christie and Marco Rubio and Bobby Jindal and John Kasich and others. Is there anyone in terms of the Tea Party you believe that attracts the most attention and excitement?
Oh, I would argue that almost all of the candidates that you mentioned, with the obvious exception of Jeb Bush, have some Tea Party lineage. A lot of them came into office in 2009, 2010, maybe 2012. And what the Tea Party wing has done, remember, Tea Party is an ethos. It's about showing up and standing up on principle. We've repopulated the Republican field for president, starting with Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, but also Governor Walker from Wisconsin. I would include Marco Rubio in that mix. And this is a spectrum of compelling conservatives. They have a lot of different views on a lot of different things, but compared to what we had in 2012 with this sort of Mitt Romney, I'm standing in line the longest, so it's my turn mentality, we've turned that on its head. And I don't think you're going to see someone like Jeb Bush or even Mitt Romney, if he chooses to run again. They are not competitive in this new environment where there's new blood, there's new ideas, there's new energy.
Minute 30 remains. We are hearing talk now that based on the Court of Appeals decision yesterday on gay marriage, that issue will now come before the Supreme Court. From the libertarian Republican perspective, what would be the best course of action dealing with this public policy question and this social question of same-sex marriage?
I think libertarians wonder why it is that we ask the federal government or the Supreme Court to weigh in on social institutions that are way too precious to be outsourced to politics. You're talking about 435 men and women that can't even balance the budget. A lot of libertarians and Tea Partiers think this is a state issue, not a federal issue. I would take it a step further and suggest that I don't want the government in my church. I don't want the government deciding the definition of marriage. I want my pastor deciding what the definition of marriage is. And it's a choice based in community. It's a choice based in religious institutions. And I think everything that government touches when it comes to stuff like this, they screw it up.
Fair enough. On that note, we will thank you for your time. Matt Kibbe, the author of Don't Hurt People and Don't Take Their Stuff, a libertarian manifesto. You heard Matt's thoughts, and we are coming back with more on America's Forum right after this time out.